Is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be going over my picks for UFC 311, which is this upcoming Saturday. I'm pretty excited to talk about my picks and see what you guys think of my picks. This card is a real good way to bring in 2025. It is, in my opinion, the main card at least, absolutely must watch. Every single fight. It's just a great way to start 2025 off. So yeah, let's get right into it. For the first fight of UFC 311's main card is Kevin Holland versus Reiner de Ridder. This should be a pretty solid fight. Reiner's coming off of a win over GM3 where, let's be honest, he didn't look too pretty. It wasn't exactly a clean, no-diff win. He looked awkward and ugly, but he won. He did win, and ultimately that is what matters. Holland, on the other hand, he actually lost his last fight. And if you were just to, look at his stats and see that he got quote-unquote finished, that wouldn't really tell you the whole story. As we know, in his last fight against Deliedze, he got injured at the end of round 1 with a rib injury. I'm not too sure what exactly happened, but because of that, he could no longer continue, and the fight was called in between rounds. So, unfortunately, because of that, we couldn't see too much of Kevin Holland. And I think that's what makes this fight so hard to pick. If we had like a full 3-5 round of recent Holland action, that would make my pick a lot more definitive here. But we didn't get to see too much of him, straight up. And we did see a lot of Reiner de Ridder. So it kind of does skew what I would normally pick in this fight. I just wanted to get that out of the way. If we take a look at the tail of the tape for these two, Holland does seem to have a massive reach advantage at 81 inches to Reiner's 78, and I would imagine this will only give Reiner issues. Reiner's probably used to being the big, tall, long guy in his fights, whereas against Holland, he won't be able to, impose his frame, his striking, his jab as easily, because him and Holland are roughly the same size. I think Reiner might have an inch on him, but with the reach difference, Reiner might as well be going in there as a quote-unquote smaller guy. I do think Holland will have the striking advantage in this fight, but I do think Reiner will have the grappling advantage, which I know some people may disagree with that, but in my opinion, I think the fact that Reiner was able to go grapple for grapple, sub for sub with GM3 the way he did, if you can do that against GM3, you're good. You're good in the grappling department. You can handle yourself. Could Holland do that? Maybe, but I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, especially after seeing his last fight, we're not sure what kind of form he's in right now. Another thing Holland has a history of doing is, he allows himself to get taken down pretty easily. He's clearly shown he is comfortable on the ground, and I feel like against Ridder, he really can't afford to do that. Like I said, Ridder has shown against GM3 that he has high-level grappling skills and can pull out a sub and is dangerous at any level, any stage in the fight. So I feel like if Holland gets too comfortable on the ground, especially later on in the fight, Reiner can make something happen and catch Holland in something. I'm going to have to go with Kevin Holland on this one. I just think Holland will be too much for Reiner on the feet, especially really early on. And, seeing Reiner struggle so much with GM3 confirms it for me. That was a good performance by Reiner. He won. I get it. But quite frankly, I just think Kevin Holland is a lot better than GM3. And I don't think Kevin Holland would have struggled like that. So it's really hard for me to pick Reiner when, yeah, he has proven himself, but Holland is forged in the fire. We know what he's bringing. We're not too sure how deep Reiner can dig, how will he react to like a striker and talker like Holland, you know what I mean? He still has to quote unquote prove himself, even though I know of his history and double champ and all that. That doesn't mean shit here in the UFC. So anyways, I'm gonna have to go with Kevin Holland via TKO, probably in the second. If it doesn't go that way, I think Reiner will be submitting Kevin Holland in the third. But yeah, for my pick, I will be going with Kevin Holland via TKO in the second. So up next on the main card, we got Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. This one is pretty easy to call in my opinion. I got money Moicano. Now, I gotta be honest here, I'm not even that big of a fan of Moicano. His whole Moicano need money, Moicano need money. That whole gimmick got really old really fast for me, and quite frankly, I never really got what all the fuss was about. I never thought it was that funny, guys. I gotta be honest here, I never thought it was that funny. But I do have to admit, him dissing on the French president when he was over there in France is fucking hilarious. Like, props where it's due. That is funny. Anyways, I'm choosing Moicano because he just has the momentum with him right now. He seems to be in peak form and is seemingly getting better between each fight, whereas with Benny DeRouche, I feel like you could arguably say the opposite, especially when you look at the fact that he is coming off of 2 back-to-back finishes. 2. Yeah, I get it. To be fair, Moicano isn't Charles Oliveira. Moicano isn't Arman Sarukian, who is the main event. But my point still stands, and quite frankly, I really wouldn't be surprised if he were to get Benny out of there in under 2. Benny DeRouche still does have ways to win, obviously, but like I said, the momentum is just on Moicano's side, and it's really hard to pick against him right now. So if it wasn't obvious enough, my official pick is I am going with Moicano via some form of finish in round 1. Up next, we have my personal main event. This is the fight that I've been looking forward to ever since it was announced, and ever since they did a little face-off like a year ago, maybe at this point. But we got Chamahal Hill versus Yuri Prohaska. This is another one a lot of people would think will be pretty close, and you know what, it probably will be. It feels like we have a classic kind of good guy versus bad guy fight, at least in the eyes of the fans. Yuri is a fan favorite, we all know this. The Samurai, 3 Rooms of Darkness, or 3 Days of Darkness, sorry. Whereas with, Hill, he is not a fan favorite at all. Maybe a fan favorite to fucking argue with on Twitter, but Hill is not a fan favorite. So to have these two go against each other is just perfect marketing, or it's a perfect story, at least for me. But I have to be honest, guys. I'm a big fan of Jamal Hill. I think it's hilarious that he's always arguing with people on Twitter, especially that time where he turned on his own fan. The fact that he's always arguing with people online, he's always standing on business, so to speak, and he's always just talking his shit unapologetically. I can respect that, and I do. I really do. I appreciate the fun and just attention he brings to himself and that weight division. It just makes things really entertaining, and it's fun to hate, but you don't realize how much you miss that stuff when it's gone. As for the fight, I have one big question that will really determine how this fight will go, at least the way I see it. How is Yuri Prohaska? How is he holding up? Because we have to remember, he is coming off of 2 absolutely brutal, vicious finishes from Chama Alex Pereira. This part is debatable, but in my opinion, the finishes that Pereira has over Prohaska are a lot worse than the finish Pereira has over Hill. I've argued with people about this on X/Twitter already, but when you really look at the two, the Yuri finishes were bad. Yuri took a lot of fucking damage, and my concern there is that his chin may be cracked, his durability may be depleted, and I'm not confident in his ability to be able to take a full, clean, flush Jamal Hill shot. I'm not confident in that ability of Yuri. I don't think that his chin is there. His defense certainly isn't there. I mean, we saw in the last Pereira-Yuri fight, Yuri was ducking down into body shots and taking them to the head. So I'm not saying that Hill is some striking god here where he's going to be able to pick Yuri apart, but all I'm saying is he will land that shot on Yuri. Yuri is in Money Mayweather in there. Yuri's going to take a shot to give one, and I don't know if Yuri can take that. I do feel like that Yuri has better grappling than Hill, and he really should mix up his game if he wants to win this without taking too much damage, because I already said it, if he strikes with Hill, if he stands in front of him hands down, I think Yuri's going to get knocked the fuck out, straight up. And something else I'd like to add is I am of the belief that Hill wasn't 100% in the Pereira fight. I do believe that he wasn't fully healed from his leg injury, and did that affect him? Did that change the outcome? Not really. I think the outcome would have been the same regardless. But I think mentally Hill knew he wasn't 100% in there, and that's why we saw those kind of weak moments from Hill that we did see in the build up. So I think this time that won't be a factor at all. He's coming in with a full 100% belief that he will win this fight easily, and I think that alone will give Yuri problems. Overall, I'm gonna have to go with Jamal Hill on this one, guys. Pretty much, I think his striking offense is gonna be too much, and I think Yuri's striking defense isn't enough. So unless Yuri really mixes in his grappling and turns this into an MMA fight, I think Jamal Hill is gonna knock him out. I got Hill via KO. I'm gonna say in the second. So now we are on to the co-main event. We got Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Man First Dvalishvili. So, you know, with this one, I was pretty surprised to see how skewed the odds are. Umar seems to be a heavy favorite, which, you know, I think is pretty crazy considering how both of their last fights went. I feel like in his last fight against Sandhagen, Umar really showed his weaknesses and vulnerabilities in that fight, as good as his performance was. And, you know, you could really say the same thing with Merab. I know he had a dominant performance as well, but he really showed his weakness to the body at the end of that 5th round against O'Malley in the Sphere. And you know what? I guess the more I think on it, it makes sense that Umar is the favorite. I think he does have more ways to win over Merab. You know, I could see Umar getting a finish or a decision, whereas with Merab, you know, for being real, he's only going to win unanimous decision. That's just the Merab way. He's not going to start getting finishes now against some of the highest level competition he will face in his career. Umar hasn't fought a guy that has the cardio that Merab does. Merab's chain wrestling and constant takedowns, I think, will definitely give Umar problems, at least later on in the fight. But when it comes to the striking, I feel like we can comfortably say that is in Umar's range, on his side, so to speak. I think Umar's striking advantage will allow him to take over, especially early on in the fight, the first half at a minimum. And if Umar can stop the takedowns from Merab, I think he'll dominate and maybe even get a finish. Now with Merab, we know his game plan is gonna be, you know, spam the takedown, put heavy pressure against Umar and wear him down, break him mentally and physically. But Umar's on Team Khabib. You know, we know what Umar's going through. We know the training, the grueling tasks, whatever the fuck you want that Umar is going through. That's making him ready. So quite frankly, I don't even know if it is physically possible for Merab to break Umar like that. So yeah, a lot of things are pointing towards Umar for this. Like I said, I feel like Sandhagen kind of gave the blueprint on how to beat Umar, defend the takedowns, and be slick with your striking. That's how you get him. But I don't know if Merab is even capable of that stuff. And like I just said, we don't even know if Umar can get tired the way that Merab would like him to. But you know what? Having the champ as that much of an underdog is absolutely fucking crazy. I can't pick against that. So for this fight, I'm gonna have to go with Merab, and the logic I'm using is somewhat similar to what there's a clip out there where Aljo said something along those lines, where if Sandhagen gave Umar problems, what do you think Merab is going to do? And I do believe that's true. I know that's basic weird MMA math, but you know, there has to be some truth to it. If Sandhagen was able to get ready for the grappling of Umar within one camp, what do you think Merab can do? Camp, you know? So with that being said, I can't really understand the disrespect we're seeing on the champ Merab right now. I'm gonna have to go with Merab via unanimous decision. Obviously, Merab isn't gonna win in any other way. So yeah, I got Merab via unanimous decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if Umar pulls it off. Alright guys, we made it to the main event. We got Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan in part 2, because we do need to remember these have fought before. Anyways, I'm going to keep it 100 here. I think Islam is going to absolutely smoke Arman Tsarukyan. Like, I don't think it will be close at all. Yeah, I know Islam's first fight with Arman was Islam's toughest battle or whatever, which even then, I disagree with that. I think it was Volk. But anyways, or actually, it was probably Poirier, maybe. Anyways, that fight was so long ago, guys. It's irrelevant. Come on, guys. It was, how long ago was that? Like, that doesn't mean anything anymore. Plus, there's so many things that you could look at that can make you come to this conclusion that Islam is going to smoke Arman Tsarukyan. First and foremost, look at their performances against Charles Oliveira. In Arman versus Oliveira, you know, there's a fair argument that Arman's short slipping down is what saved him from getting choked out. Oliveira had the guillotine in deep, and yeah, if Arman's shorts didn't fall off, who knows how that would have ended, you know? And that was just a really close fight in general. Arman definitely struggled against Oliveira, for sure. This is an objective truth. We can watch this. Another thing to look at, I feel like, is their mindsets. I saw clips from an interview where Arman is already talking about money fights and stuff like that. Like, dude, you don't even have the belt yet. You cannot be talking about money fights. You don't even have the legacy of the belt yet. Like, come on, bro. You gotta lock in. Whereas, you know, with Islam and all of Team Khabib, we know the mindset they have. They are locked in. They're there for legacy every single time. Islam is gonna show up wanting to defend that belt. And, you know, I just think he's gonna absolutely smoke Arman. Like, I don't know. Everything is pointing towards it. Now, let's compare this to the Islam Oliveira fight. Islam absolutely dominated Charles Oliveira. He made Oliveira look like he didn't even belong in Islam. He brought back the old Oliveira. So that alone, I feel like, should kind of give you a look into how this fight is gonna go. But there are other things we could look at as well. Another thing to look at, I feel like, is their mindsets. I saw clips from an interview where Arman is already talking about money fights and stuff like that. Like, dude, you don't even have the belt yet. You cannot be talking about money fights. You don't even have the legacy of the belt yet. Like, come on, bro. You gotta lock in. Whereas, you know, with Islam and all of Team Khabib, we know the mindset they have. They are locked in. They're there for legacy every single time. Islam is gonna show up wanting to defend that belt. And, you know, I just think he's gonna absolutely smoke Arman. Like, I don't know. Everything is pointing towards it. Now, I do have to say, Islam's last performance against Poirier was a little shocking to see. It doesn't give me too much confidence in my pick of him. Now, don't get me wrong. It was a great performance. You know, he showed out. He did his thing. But heir to the Khabib throne, Islam Makhachev, father's plan. I just would have expected that win to go a lot smoother for Islam and a lot more dominantly than how it went. So with that being said, if that version of Islam Makhachev shows up, and if the absolute best champion level form Arman Tsarukyan shows up and they fight, I think Arman wins. I do think there is a path to victory for Arman, especially after seeing Islam fight Poirier. But I feel like after that Poirier fight, Islam really got back in the lab, cleaned up any deficiencies, and I think he's gonna come out and really dominate on Arman. I think that Poirier fight was Islam's worst form. That was probably the worst we will ever see Islam, other than when he got knocked the fuck out by some random Brazilian. I think Islam will be able to strike with him and have a lot of success with knees and kicks and stuff. Arman is a fair bit shorter than Islam, and seeing in the Volk fights, Islam does have great success striking with somebody smaller than a shorter guy. Obviously, the wrestling and scrambles will be very, very fun to watch, and I'm excited to see how those go. But, you know, I have to give that to Islam as well, because, you know, he's a champ, and Team Khabib, the grappling and wrestling and strength and stuff is probably on his side. I do think at the start, Arman will be able to escape in the scrambles and get off up from the ground early on, defend takedowns, stuff like that, but I do think as the fight goes on, Islam will just kind of impose his game plan and really, really wear on Arman. This is Islam's fight to lose. I don't think Arman really has any way to win this fight. Like I said, from the mindset to the training to just literally everything, Islam is just going to come out here and dominate this guy straight up. With that being said, I'm going to have to go with Islam via TKO, I want to say in the third round. I think he's going to catch Arman with a head kick, maybe similar to the Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson knockout. And that is going to be it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, if you enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. It goes a long way here. And make sure to comment down below, what do you think of my picks? What are your picks? Who do you have winning these fights? And what is your personal main event? Mine was Hale versus Prohaska. Let me know what yours is. This is a pretty stacked main card. And yes, I am going to be live watching the main card, reacting to it this Saturday here on YouTube and X. So make sure to add me over on X and subscribe to me here on YouTube. We're going to be live reacting to this, real casual watch along. I know everybody and their mom does these now, but come tune in if you want something fresh and unique to watch. But anyways, I'm out of here, guys. I will see you Saturday for my live stream, and yeah.